I'm coming here today to speak to you a little bit as an imposter. I am not a development studies scholar. I'm not a policy maker. I'm an anthropologist. And I thought that I would like to speak to this audience as an anthropologist. We are a little bit, I think, troublemakers, rebels, difficult people. So I would like to begin to explain how I see anthropology, drawing on Deborah Bird-Rose's idea of what it is. And she says, anthropology, or so I hope, at least for those who like their ideas neatly packaged, a thorn. It unsettles, it challenges, it contests conventional wisdoms, it's interested in everyday life, it is not interventionist, it is not instrumental. So where I know from, as an anthropologist, from the South, from the most unequal country in the world, I'm ideally situated to do what we do well, to ask difficult questions, to challenge conventional wisdoms, perhaps best exemplified in what I think is a seminal text in development study, in James Ferguson's monograph, The Anti-Politics Machine, asking rather not why development projects fail, but showing how failure extends the rationality of the state and serves as an anti-politics machine, in this instance, Lesotho. To me, just transitions, if not yet, is at least an emergent buzzword. It travels easily, attested in that it's no accident that the biggest multinational mining companies are using the language of just transition, despite the fact that it is the same mining capitalist multinational companies who are responsible for the climate and environmental emergencies we face in making nature and people cheap, as Moore and Patel argue. I'd also like to lean on British anthropologist Tim Ingold, who says, every generation then is fated to live among the ruins of outmoded futures. The outmoded futures we sit around and plan as planners and development workers. And although the predicament of coming generations will be no different, never before have the solutions of the immediate past wreaked such destruction and ruination. We are living among, and we are trying to future-proof the world from. So, to me then, as an anthropologist, I like to begin with a question Hannah Arendt poses after the war in the 1950s around education, where she asks, do we love the world enough to be responsible for it? And I really like her question of responsibility, because it links to me well with Levinas's ethics and Deborah Bird-Rose's work on relationality, in asking questions not about justice, but about responsibility. And I would like to pose the question to students in development, to policymakers, to us, do we love the world enough to be responsible for, as Irene provokes us to do? In following this theme of responsibility then, with this R, I would like to not talk about a just transition, but rather propose a series of R's, beginning with, instead of then future-proofing the world and heading towards a future in which we will leave the outmoded ruins we create for the young generation to attend to, I would propose that we stop and we turn around and we look to the ground, and instead of asking about justice, we talk about reparation. Instead of talking about a transition, we talk about repair and rewilding, and ask the difficult questions of actually staying with the troubles, sitting with the world, looking around us, as I fear that a just transition in a country like my own, where there is policy around it, in a context where I had to come to campus because of load shedding, stage 6 at the moment, We are struggle immensely with energy processes, and we're the same mining companies who are extracting the stuff will now be extracting the materials to create the technologies of sustainable energy. So my intervention would be, I think that just transition is a buzzword, a fuzzword. It travels easily. It sneaks into the, it has the capacity to extend the ruins we are trying to make life amongst. And it is, as Foucault would say, like justice, simply a discourse that serves the interests of the powerful, as opposed to the poor. So as a Southern scholar, I would argue for responsibility, reparation, repair, and reject the idea of just transition. Thank you. I hope I'm provoking you to ask me difficult questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabil Mandala, and I'm from Mozambique. As everyone know, Mozambique became independent country from Portuguese in 25 June 1975, and since that time, the electricity distribution was done by Eletricidade de Moçambique since 1977 as results of nationalization. So transition, energetic transition is related with the two points. One of them is the innovation, and the second one is related to expansion of the traditional network of electricity. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I think that my speech can focus in this point. First of all, the expansion of stability with the Portuguese, two towns for many cities like Maputo, Beira, Nampula, Quilimane. This is many cities in Mozambique. And that doesn't work in the rural area. So the national company of electricity only give electricity almost 20% of people of Mozambique, or Mozambican people. So 80% of Mozambican live in rural area. So in the remain in the city, in the urban areas. But in the beginning of 90s, the first election in 1994, we created a company called the FUNAI, I think this is the innovation. FUNAI is related to rural areas. In this point is the point that we can call the use of energy with low carbon, uso de energia de baixo carbono. So FUNAI, with the agreement would at the end start working in rural areas. FNI developed a small hydro power and also solar photovoltaic and same area energy from wind. Related to transition, I think that we're still in the low level. I think so, because just only 20% of Mozambican can use electricity. There is the challenge to FNI in order to increase who could enjoy with electricity in rural areas. But until now, we're still around the 15 and 20% of Mozambican using electricity. The challenge facing with our countries, I think, is related to technology, because the support production of energy using low carbon, Europe, China. So we need to have knowledge in order to expand DC technology for rural area. And also we need to increase also in the urban areas, because there is more people using wood as a power for cooking and also for light. Thank you a lot. I will stop here.
But otherwise, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for having me. Just a small background about Botswana, especially in relation to climate and climate change. I will say that our country is arid to semi-arid, and we experience warm winters and hot summers, and the rainfalls are usually mostly unpredictable. But as of now, as we speak, we are having a cold front that we are experiencing this week until Saturday, which is an indication of what is happening due to climate change. And we have been experiencing some floods there and there, which is not really something that we are used to. So as a country, I see us being vulnerable like the rest of the world, and the vulnerability is due to variability in the rainfalls, as well as the high rate of poverty that affects mostly rural areas, where you have most people who are dependent on what is happening climatically, so that they can make decisions about what can actually affect their lives positively. So as I've mentioned, we experience a very low rainfall, which is like kind of normal. And then we are saying that as long as you have changes occurring because of climate change, then you are going to have issues relating to the agriculture sector, which is a source of income, which is a source of economic needs for most of the people in the country. So due to the state of this rainfall, then we are going to have reduction in agricultural production. And when now we experience floods that are coming out of nowhere, We are not ready for that. We are not socialized to live in such conditions. But anyway, coming now from the sociological perspective, because I'm a sociologist, for me, just traditions is about bringing all actors, allowing for people to participate in the process of making changes that will allow us as a nation, us as a region, the African continent, survive what is happening due to climate change. We should create platforms that will allow for people to identify sustainable alternatives to the resources that we are using, so that we don't impact the environment negatively the way things are happening right now. So for now, I'll just stop there and say I'm looking forward to these engagements. Thank you.